So my name is Arpendu. Probably few of you guys know, few of you don't. So I am currently associated with Accenture Applied Intelligence team, part of their marketing and analytics group. So so I have been associated with Accenture for almost 2 years. Prior to that, I was working in a boutique consulting firm back in Calcutta, and I did my like graduation from Ramjas in economics and post graduation from Department of Economics, University of Calcutta. So that's the brief background. Yeah, I like the subject econometrics statistics, but then as you all know, possibly the age of deep learning and AI is increasing, and we are moving to the age of computer science linked with statistics and mathematics, and definitely there is programming. So all of things at once. But it's very helpful and very powerful in terms of what we can leverage from the data in terms of. I think you all have been experimenting or experiencing it in a pseudo way, but then we are all experiencing the power of the data that we have now, right? So yeah, so that's about me. And great, Anandita. Great that you have. Okay, so okay, so I will just take you to the presentation. Okay, and let me just maybe first introduce you uh, uh, to the clustering aspect. Uh, okay, so or maybe just give you first of all a very business overview of the technique, right? So I will give you first a brief overview of the industry itself, and then about this technique in specific about clustering. Okay, so in analytics, as you probably know, the 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 most, or I think all of the work is based on the data. So based on the data, we make predictions, we make models, we make optimization scenarios, we present insights, we derive the decisions. So everything is based on the data, and based on that data, we do apply a plethora of techniques. Uh, uh, some are supervised and some are unsupervised. When I say supervised and unsupervised, basically these are jargons to tell that whether a particular technique has a particular target variable, like a sales, or unsupervised, which do not have a target variable, which is like you do not basically are predicting anything. You are just you're dealing with a technique, but not we're dealing with a target variable, right? So there are range of techniques, including logistic, including multiple linear regression, including forecasting, including boosting, bagging, including support vector machines. And if you go into the deep learning space, you have neural networks, and you have sentiment analytics, and there are various techniques, so and forth, right? So among all of these techniques, one of the I think it will be is a technique which has been used very extensively, and of the most I think in terms of the duration also in the industry, it's being used quite largely is clustering, right? So I have said that clustering and marketing, yeah, but I just wanted to give you a very basic understanding of the data itself, right? So in every business, there are like broadly two kinds of business. One is business to business, where you deal with the business itself, and one is when you deal with business to customer level data. So it primarily I work where I deal with business to business level data. So it's not like we deal with customer level data. So we basically when we do marketing, we give the insights at the business level, not at the customer level. But then there are teams within every organization in analytics who also do customer analytics, right? So they do deal with problems, the business problems, where basically the data they are dealing is at a customer level. Okay, so having a customer level data is both has its pros and cons. The pros is basically you have the power to leverage insights at the most granular level, which is the customer, right? So, for example, you all can think yourself as a customer, right? So you can just recount what all transactions that you did in the last week, or if you just want to filter down the list of transactions, maybe what all transactions you did through the online marketplace, maybe, right? So possibly some of you did, some of you didn't, and also when you did, there could be other buckets, like possibly some of you have bought some apparels, some of you have bought some like shoes or like appliances and so on and so forth, right? So what I am trying to say is each one of you is basically a customer, right? And when you're doing a transaction online, uh, okay, yeah, sure, I will. So when you're doing a transaction online, you are basically responding or showcasing that what all your preferences are, right? So that's what is a customer level data, and each of the customer in itself is very unique, right? And he or she has its own preferences. Okay. Now, the fact is, for companies, they cannot really drill down to each customer, right? So, for example, let's say all of us is there, and let's say we multiply each of us into let's say a thousand or a 10,000 or a million number. So, if it's a big company, they cannot really drill down to each customer to understand what their preferences and what their like preferences are, right? So in that case, what clustering as a technique does is basically it helps to group the customers or the consumers in certain categories, which who are very similar to each other, right? So that's basically broadly the objective. So let me just take you to the presentation because I've prepared it. So and let me just take you through, and I will give you more insights as we walk down. Okay, so that's the cover page. Okay, so basically, I will talk about the overview of clustering. So essentially, what is clustering, right? I think I gave you a bit of the pre-introduction of what clustering is. I will give you also a glimpse of like what all companies are using clustering. Okay, it's just a preliminary list. It's not obviously exhaustive list. I will again very briefly introduce you to the major clustering techniques used. Very brief introduction. Do not take it as a detailed the understanding of it. Brief introduction. Okay, and so which are basically hierarchical and k-means, and then we will just move on to a quick case study in R. Okay, on in R. I'm sorry for the typo. Okay, so clustering. So let me define what a clustering is. Okay, so clustering is basically a unsupervised machine learning technique, which helps you to segment customers or individuals based on similar preferences, right? So I have tried to manage both statistical and English terms. So it's unsupervised machine learning technique. So unsupervised, as I said, there is no target variable. We are not predicting anything, which happens in the normal in kind of the analytical techniques like a regression or a neural network or a logistic regression where we are predicting something, right? So here we are not predicting anything here. So I will explain what we are doing in SPACT. We're basically dealing with a customer level data and or a data of individuals, and we're trying to put all of them into certain clusters, right? So we are basically segmenting them. Okay, so so clustering is basically unsupervised statistical technique which helps us to find out similar segments or clusters within a population. Okay, so let me give you a very simple example of how this cluster means. So what exactly a cluster is. So for example, let's say I will stick to the example of the of apparels and link to that. So let's say all of us who are present in this session, let's say we all of us do like purchasing apparels from let's say Amazon or Myntra. Okay, so Myntra is an online shop place, and then we can buy stuff from them. Now let's say we filter down to our preferences, and we believe and we prefer of let's say all of us prefer purchasing let's say shirts, or right, or let's say some of us prefer shirts and some of us prefer let's say t-shirts. Okay, and some of us let's say prefer let's say trousers. Okay, so having said that, now each one of us maybe prefers a unique category of a shirt. Okay, so when I drill down to a shirt level, maybe each one of us, maybe someone prefers a cotton shirt, someone prefers a, let's say whatever, and it's similar in t-shirts, right? Similar in trousers. But then if I am this if I am the CEO of that company, uh, and I want a very good marketing to happen. Okay. So for example, if you bought a t-shirt, let's say 2 days before, when Myntra had their some kind of end of season sale, right? So effectively, you have given Myntra the data that you prefer t-shirts, and the next time, uh, when again the when again when the transaction happens, you believe the Myntra to again recommend you to similar kind of offerings, right? So for example, if you have bought t-shirts, the next time obviously Myntra should not offer you the recommendation of a let's say shoes, because possibly you tend to prefer t-shirts more. Okay, just try to understand this from example point of view. Okay, so each one of us maybe within apparel category, when we drill down, it can be different. But then if we just take a bird eye view, we can categorize into three different categories, like a t-shirt category and shirt category and apparel category, or a trouser category. Sorry, yeah, it's a trouser category. So and what the CEO can do is that for each of the three categories, they can make the marketing campaign in a similar way, that they can pitch or make offer discounts to the customers, more discounts to the customers who are more tend to prefer t-shirts and any other category of that portal, right? So essentially what clustering does is that it groups the customers based on their certain individual preferences. And what is that in statistics or analytics called that these individuals are together, they form clusters, right? And the clusters are what they are groups, and the special feature of this group is that they are homogeneous within themselves. When I say homogeneous, is that they are very similar with respect to those attributes, but they will be very heterogeneous across the groups, right? So a customer who is preferring shirts, and a customer who is preferring t-shirts, they will not be the same, right? So that's how I'm saying that they are uh, they are different, right? Exactly, Meghna. So that's how I will come to that. I will come to more of that, like how these recommendations happen, right? So I've come to that when I talk about the companies and the examples of it, right? So essentially, what is clustering? So clustering is basically a unsupervised machine learning technique, which is used to divide the customers, or the overall set of customers, let's say X, into certain categories, let's say X1, X2 to Xn. But each of this Xi are very homogeneous to each other, and they are heterogeneous among itself. So X1 and X2 is very different, but all the members within X1 are very similar in terms of the attributes. Okay, so the examples of clusters. So the the slide shows a very simple example of the clusters. Is that I have got in let's say a balance or savings on my y-axis, and my income in my x-axis. So there, if you plot this, so there's a, let's say this is again illustrative data of individuals. So there, you can clearly see that there are two patterns emerging, right? So on on the left top corner side, you see that there are people who have a lot of high balance, but they have a low income. Okay, and let's say there are people who also have a very high income, but they corresponding have a low income balance, a low balance, right? So essentially, these whole one set of data can be further divided into two sets of data, where one category can represent a customers who have high balance and low income, and the second category can represent customers who have high income and low balance, right? So basically so these all individuals can be grouped into one cluster, and they are very homogeneous to each other, and these all individuals can again be grouped into one cluster, and they are very homogeneous to one another, to each other. But essentially these two clusters are completely different from each other. Okay, now I will come to the companies part, but then did you get the what is balance here? Balance can be uh, just example, like balance is like just the savings. Okay, so savings and income. So some customers have okay, sure. So I'm just talking it from an example point of view. Okay, so on the y-axis there is like let's say there is savings, and on the x-axis let's say there is income. Okay, so from the figure, can you see the two patterns, like the two concentration of the dots, all of you? So on the left hand side, so this part, okay, so in this part we have like a low income, but the saving is high, right? And on this part, on the right side, on the low part, the saving is low, but the income is high, right? So essentially, all of the customers can be grouped into two of these groups, where one group can represent, or a cluster can represent, a high income and low balance, and the other custom group can be represent of low balance but very high income, right? So this is basically the idea of like but if you just see the data as overall, it's just one overall class of customers, but then if we try to group them on the basis of savings and income, they essentially become two clusters or two groups of customers. Okay, is this was it clear, Anurag, and all of you? Okay. Okay, now I come to the more of a practical application part. Okay, so okay, so all of you guys use LinkedIn and Facebook, right? uh, and maybe the Myntra channels, right? All of these channels, right? So I will quickly take to my LinkedIn profile just to show you like what exactly happens uh, from a very practical perspective, right? So this is something which you and I as a user can understand, and then we again get back to to the technicalities, right? So let's say this is my profile, and there's this opening up. Uh, okay. Uh, okay. So there is this tab you can see, like view all recommendations, right? And if I just go to my network, okay. So then you can see that I have like few people recommended for you, right? You all see that there's certain people whom I can just send a LinkedIn request on right to connect. Okay, so that is what essentially. So the point is these recommendations, right? See these recommendations of certain people featuring in. So they are not random, right? So there must be some connection between. Uh, okay, I am not here to propagate LinkedIn or anything else, but still, I'm trying to just give you an example. Okay, so from an example perspective, these individuals are we have something in common, and that's why LinkedIn is recommending these individuals to me. Similarly, in YouTube or in Facebook, possibly you get those recommendations that the channels recommended or the friends recommended, right? So how did this happen? So essentially, the idea is okay. Uh, okay, I will try to speak slow if that helps. Okay. So essentially, what happens is that in the back end, there is a technique called filtering. collaborative filtering and content filtering. So it's itself a altogether a different technique in itself. I will not get into that. But these filtering mechanisms, they use clustering. Okay. uh, and clustering, as I said, they are groups. So for example, if I fall in a particular group and these all individuals also let's say fall in a particular group, so then uh, that's the reason I have been asked, LinkedIn is recommending that you can also connect to that person, or you can, if you have bought this, you can also buy this, right? So let me go to the next slide. So so all of these companies, starting from Amazon, Flipkart to Facebook, Myntra, uh, yeah, they all provide us with recommendations, right? So they all give us that what do you want, and most I think it's a very general question, that have you ever bought the recommended items? Any one of you, like something, or you have when there is a recommendation, you have like there is a Facebook request or recommended channels or recommended, so you have watched that, right? So that's the point. So each one of you maybe have responded to that recommendation, right? But that recommendation has been created through an algorithm, right? It's not just a random throw at you. It's just based on algorithm. Yeah. And you'll see that I will just show you this example, right? So uh, uh, so this is like an iPhone 6s, and customers who have bought this have also bought this, right? So it shows that, okay, people who have bought this have bought also these items together. So again, why is this recommendation showing? And what it is doing is that Amazon itself is trying to increase its revenue per customer, right? If I buy more items, more of the purchase happens, and by default I can just buy this. If I'm just buying a, let's say, 60,000 phone, I can buy another like 1,000 2,000 rupees of accessories. Okay, but had been missed the point that there had been no accessories and no recommendations, I would have simply just bought the phone. Okay. But the point is that these recommendations needs to be powerful. ऐसा नहीं हो सकता है कि if I'm buying a Apple, trying to buy Apple 6s or buying Apple 6s, यहाँ पे सामने let's say I'm getting a recommendation of a soap. So that would be truly like obviously not expected, right? So anything which is not linked to, let's say, phone, which will be not expected, right? So that's where these recommendations of clustering in terms happen, so that I belong to the category of customers who have bought the iPhone, or who is willing to buy a phone, and other customers have already purchased this, so you should also purchase this, right? So that essentially is the idea, and that's essentially how the companies use the power of clustering or creating groups to make recommendations, right? So recommendation systems, so these are very basic statistics. So 35% of Amazon sales are from recommendations. Similarly for Google, it's like 38%. Netflix, which has been, okay, Netflix is also is one of the emerging digital channels. So there is a recommendation of like what all channels to see, and we keep watching and we keep on paying, and that's how they are making money, right? So that's what from a company or from a user perspective happens. And we take it as a user, but then the at the back end there is like a specific algorithm running which tries to create or segment the customers, and then give very specific recommendations based on the preferences of the customer, right? Yeah. Also I keep on saying, like in YouTube also, when you see the ads, it's very specific to a particular person, right? And it's maybe the case that, for example, the ad that you are watching, the ad I'm watching, they may be completely different, right? Also, if you visit something, then uh, uh, right, yeah. So can you give an example how can be used in targeting? I will just tell you. I will just when I move into the to the case study, I will tell you. So it is like a particular genre. So essentially, take it from this. I'm giving a very fundamental explanation. I will not jump to how ad targeting makes. So just think yourself and some other self as two group of customers, right? Each one of you can think. Okay. So you want what do you want? You want only those products to be marketed which you like, right? And how you will know, how a company will know that you will like, it will be based on your previous data or your previous history, right? So for example, if you have been purchasing only HP products or only, let's say, Dell products, you will want that I should be getting all the updates from HP and Dell and nothing else, right? And my likelihood of purchasing that item should be should be more if I'm shown the HP or the Dell product, right? And some other person who is more into some other brand, he might be willing to get those preferences, right? So yeah, so that's what the idea is, that the recommendation should be very specific. But then it's not that you are the only one who is liking HP. There are other people also who are who like HP, and they all will be shown the HP products, and there will other people also who prefer Dell, and they will be shown the Dell products. Okay. So that's how this clustering happens, is that you yourself are micro, but then there are other people also who have got a similar preference, and you all will be targeted with the same kind of a feature or a from the product portfolio. And the other group may be targeted with other portfolio with the product from the product portfolio. Okay. So that's how it basically happens, right? So moving on to the clustering techniques. So essentially, there are two kind of clustering techniques. Okay. Before I go into the science of it, do you have any questions to ask? Any one of you? Like, if you have any questions before I just move into the uh, actual, like, how does it happens? Like, what happens in a clustering mechanism? No. Okay.
Sir, I have one question.
Yep.
Sir, like after doing the clustering, how can we know that on which basis the cluster have been made?
On which basis the clusters have been made? Okay, good question. So ideally, so for every, for example, let's say you give your profile to Google or Uber. When you book an app or when you download an app, you allow Google to access its information, right? So every company, let's say, who is doing the customer cluster level analysis, uh, you pass on certain independent variables, right? So that can be, let's say, I let's say for apparel making company, right? So I was talking about the three genre of products like t-shirts, shirts, and trousers. So let's say this company has got some kind of data. Okay. So and this data is in form of variables, let's say, like gender, let's say age, let's say location, let's say even education. Let's say we are very fictitious here, but the company can try to make and see that the people who are, let's say, of lower age, from, let's say, from 15 to 20 years, they prefer wearing t-shirts, and they have more purchased t-shirts. And similarly, the people who are from, let's say, a particular part of the country, let's say more from the east, they prefer wearing t-shirts, right? So these variables, they themselves act as the pointers of information on the basis of which the clusters can be created. So for example, let's say I say that you belong to a particular cluster. Let's say cluster who wears t-shirts. Then how do I come to know? Why? Because let's say you are of a younger age, you belong to the east part of the country, and let's say you are doing your MBA. So people who are doing the MBA, people who belong to east, people who are of a younger age, they more prefer t-shirts. So that is how the independent variables are being used, and to create clusters. And then in the longer run, if you pass on these features, the machine itself can predict that the finally whether the customer will prefer a one kind of category or not, right? It's not deep learning. Uh, uh, um, I think, yeah, it's not deep learning. It's one of the deep learning is more linked to neural networks, where we talk about hidden layers and stuff, right? It is a kind of a machine learning problem, yeah. And basically machine learning is a very I think abused word. Why? Because we keep on saying that deep learning, machine learning, data science, analytics, they are all different, and we should be doing a proper understanding of each one of. I would recommend all of you to have a very proper understanding of it. Not all of it is same, right? Some are like supersets, some is a subset. In itself, it's a topic. I will not get into it, but it can be categorized into a machine learning problem. Okay. Clustering algorithm is easiest on which tool? It is easy in any of the tool. It is easy in R. It is easy in SAS. You can apply in Python itself. So tool is like just a wave. You can do it in any tool. It's not a issue. Okay. 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 So moving on. Basically, there are two categories of clustering methods. Okay. So the first category is called hierarchical clustering, and the second category is called k-means clustering. Okay. So, but then all of you understand, right, what is clustering, right? All of you by now. So, what is clustering and what are clusters? At least a preliminary understanding. Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's what it is. Grouping. Okay. Now, so hierarchical clustering, basically, so imagine. Okay, so let me quickly open up Excel for you guys. Okay. So I will just give you a very simple example. Okay, let's say there's an ID. Let's say there's a customer ID. Okay, so imagine all of you guys running a company. Okay, and you are making a lot of sales, a lot of profits, and we are just taking a snapshot or a few parts of the customer transactions, right? So let's say there is a customer ID. Let's say there are a few details about the customer. Let's say there is age, there is a gender. Let's say there is a item purchased. Let's say there is what all? Let's say the mode of purchasing, offline or online kind of stuff. Okay, and let's say there is a region as well. Okay, let's try to understand this from a data perspective. So what is the data, and how basically clustering can happen? Okay, so imagine all of these rows to be filled, these all rows to be filled, and then the item purchase. And so what I have a large database with, let's say, only got of 5 variables, and these are like unique IDs. So basically 5 variables, and on these variables, let's say I want to have some insights, like can I give more give more insights or specific recommendations based on like all of these variables. Like, is there any relation between the gender, age, and item purchase, and the mode of purchase and region? Is there any grouping that I can make? Okay. So what happens in hierarchical clustering is that uh, each one, like each individual, each observation is considered as an individual cluster. Okay. So so you can see, so what happens is that each one of the individual observations will be taken as an individual cluster. Okay. The clustering, how it happens is that there is something called Euclidean distance. Okay. There are various ways of calculating the Euclidean distance or the clustering distance. So there is called Manhattan distance also. There is Euclidean distance also. There are various ways of calculating, right? So Euclidean distance is basically nothing but given by this formula that q1 minus p1 plus q2 minus q3 whole square by the square root of this. Okay. So again, going into the layman terms is that each one of them is considered, each all of them is, the distance is calculated. Okay. So first, the first essential step is that when this distance is calculated, this distance is calculated based on the standardized variables. Okay. So have I included a slide on that? Okay, no, I will just explain that what is standardization. So what happens is that uh, uh, let's say on age, or let's say there is a certain another variable, let's say income, can they be grouped into one platform, as in one scale? Ideally no, right? Because age can be like, maximum it can be like, let's say 100 or a 90, but in income, if it is like measured in, let's say in dollars or in thousands, let's say in 1,000 rupees, it can really vary, right? So so in clustering, one of the important thing is what happens is that you need to convert all the variables in one standard platform, so that the age variable and the income variable, they are both comparable, right? So uh, and this is achieved by a process called standardization. Okay. This is achieved by a process called standardization. Okay, so what standardization does is basically it subtracts the data by the mean and divides by the standard deviation, so that all of the data gets into a one common scale. Okay, and once the data is in one common scale, what happens is that this Euclidean distance is calculated. In hierarchical clustering, what happens that the distance is calculated for each one of the observations. Okay, and for example, if let's say this was the age of 23 and this, let's say age of 24, and इसको अगर मैं standardize कर दिया, let's say I'm calculating a new column, and let's say this is standard of age, and this is like standardize of this. Okay, standardize, and I need to have the mean of this. So mean of this is basically mean of average of this. Okay, and the standard deviation is basically this. Okay. So we can take the absolute value. In clustering, the absolute value is taken. Audio lag. Yeah. So sometimes this happens. The internet issues. Yeah. I think I should be switching off here too. Okay. So, anyways, I was basically explaining you guys that what happens. So there's a process of standardization, and then once we standardize in hierarchical clustering, what happens is that each one of the individual is observed as an individual cluster. Okay. So when I say that each one of them is observed as an individual cluster, so like the Euclidean distance is calculated from each one of the individual observations, and the observations which are similar to each other, so they are grouped. So for example, in this data, for example, these two individuals are like, let's say, similar to each other, and they will be grouped in one. And let's say this guy and this guy, let's say 54, and its standard value is, let's say, 1.7, they will can be grouped into another cluster. Okay, and this kind of happens to all of the observations, right? And it keeps on happening till a certain number of clusters are achieved, right? You can say that in hierarchical clustering, there's a way of seeing it, and we will see it through a technique called dendrogram. Okay, uh, uh, and then what should I repeat? The hierarchical part of it. So that's what exactly I was saying now. Okay, let me just quickly redo it. Okay, so in hierarchical clustering, what happens is that each individual is considered each as a cluster. Okay, now when I see that, so for example, in this simple data, you consider that each one of them is considered as an individual cluster. Okay, so let's say these are like 4 clusters. Okay, but since these two edges are nearby, the Euclidean distance is calculated, and since the distance will be very small, they will be grouped into one. Again, a distance between these two individuals are calculated, and they are very small. They will be grouped into one. Okay, and similarly, uh, uh, the clusters are formed by calculating this Euclidean distance, and then in hierarchical clustering, there's a technique called dendrogram, or there's a plot called dendrogram, through which you can identify what is the optimal number of clusters. But in hierarchical clustering, the basic idea is that each observation is considered as a cluster, and the distance is calculated. The Euclidean distance is calculated based on each cluster. Okay. Uh, uh, the function in Excel, oh, that's the standardized part of it, right? I'm just standardizing the values. Okay, it's nothing. Basically, I'm standardizing the values based on the mean of the data and the standard deviation. That's it. And Euclidean distance, as I said, is basically this distance. So it's basically a distance between the 2 points, and it's calculated by this formula q1 minus p1, which possibly you have learned in your class 12s. Okay, so that's the Euclidean distance. Okay, so there, it's also calculated uh, uh, through Manhattan's distance, but the most popular way is Euclidean distance. So that's basically the way how clustering is done. So how the grouping is happening? The grouping is happening on the basis of the Euclidean distance. If the two data points are similar to each other or near to each other, then they are grouped into one. If the two data points Euclidean distance is very far off, they are considered as different clusters. Clear, Vishal? Okay. Perfect. So that's what was about hierarchical clustering. K-means is another way of clustering. Okay. So in K-means, if you just see the word, there are two words, K and means. Okay. So K-means में क्या होता है कि like there are first K observations or K centroids are chosen. Okay. So again, going back to this data. So let's say from age, there will be K random points which will be generated, and in the code you need to provide what is the K. So if you want to provide 5Ks or 3K or 4K, you can provide that, and these Ks represent a certain uh, uh, this represent as the means or the central observations of the data. Okay. Now, with respect to that K, for example, let's say I have provided 3K, okay, or 2K, let's say. Now, let's say the 2Ks which are provided, and this K, let's say 1K is, let's say, 24, and the other K is 46, okay. Now, what I provide is only the number 2, okay, but how this 24 and 46 is chosen by the data itself, okay. I just provide that how many Ks needs to be done, but the value of the key is chosen by the algorithm by itself. Okay, and then for each of the data, the distance between this and this is calculated. Okay, similarly this and this is calculated. Similarly this and this is calculated, and this is calculated. Okay, so if the distance between this and this is less, these two variables will be grouped. Okay, and if the distance between this and this is less, these two variables will be grouped. Okay, similarly it will be grouped into this, uh, and this will be again grouped into the uh, 46 category, right? So these are like the case, and they keep, and that we kind of just provide the numbers, like whether it should be 2 or 3, and these random points are chosen from the data, and the distance is calculated, and then if the k if the point is nearer to the k, that point becomes associated to that cluster. Okay, and is cluster what is the mean? So k is 2 and the mean is like the central observation. So what is the summary measure, or what is the mean value of that of cluster? So that is basically 24, and all of the values which are near 24 are grouped to that cluster. Let's say this is the cluster 1 and this is the cluster 2. So this will be, again, will be the cluster 2, and this will be cluster 2, and this will be cluster 1, and this will be cluster 1, because the distance between this and this is very small, distance and between this and this is very small, so the distance between this and this is very small, and distance between this and this is very small. Okay, and this can also happen that if like the distance between these two clusters itself becomes very small, they can be grouped into one cluster. Okay, so that what happens in k-means. So in k-means, not all the differences are calculated individually, they are calculated with respect to basically a k. Okay, yes. How do we choose the k? We just provide the we just provide the k in random. Basically it's the number of clusters, so the number of clusters cannot be 20 or 30, it depends upon the volume and the data. And we also see whether the checks, there are certain checks to see, and if the checks are satisfied, we, so it's like an iterative number which we can provide. K is the central point of the cluster. K basically represents the centroid, or the mean value. Okay, so it's like the cluster, the number of clusters. So K represents the number of clusters, and mean represents the mean of that. So here the number of clusters is how many Ks are there? 2. So K is equal to 2, and the mean value of this 23, 24 is basically 23.5. So mean is 23.5, and for the second cluster the mean is 50. Okay, so that's what the mean is, and k is basically the number of clusters. Okay, yeah, deviation of k is the measure of grouping. So if you are, so obviously you will be deviating from 1k more, but you will be similar to another k, right? So let's say one of the k, so k itself is the number of clusters, but the number of clusters also represent the centroids. So what are the centroids? Are nothing but these points, right? These are the centroids which are randomly get selected, and the distance between each one of them gets calculated. And if these and these points are like very similar to each other, then that point is associated with that cluster. And if the it's like, for example, 24 and 46 are very, the distance is very high, the excluding distance will be very high. So in that case, in this case, the 46 will get grouped to this k, which is like the 46. So this is basically the mean. K means the mean, and this is the k. K is equal to 2, and the mean is 24 and 46. So for the first it's 24, and for the second it's 46. Clear till here? Okay. Okay. So yeah, so again, so clustering is what it basically divides the data into similar groups. So if you see that there are like certain random points here, so that there are blue, there are red, and the yellow, and each one of them are like represent 3 categories. So here the k is what? K is here 3, and let's say these blue and this, again going back, this yellow in the middle and this red in the middle, they are like the central points, or they are in the means of this cluster. Okay, so that will be the representative measure of the cluster. Okay, so that's what is basically a k means. So k represents the number of clusters, and means represents the central observation. So the two clusters which are near to each other is clubbed together to form one cluster. So for example, these 3 points are near to one another, they can be grouped to one another to form one cluster, and these 2 data points, let's say, can be grouped to form one cluster. Okay, so that basically is the idea of clustering. Very briefly, there is a lot of you can study a lot in terms of the mathematics behind it, but again, in terms of the time format or the time constraint, we will not get into the exact mathematics behind the clustering or the calculation of Euclidean distance. But essentially the idea is this: that cluster represents the groups of customers, and these groups are calculated. The general idea is that they're very homogeneous within themselves and heterogeneous among themselves, and the groups are calculated based on the Euclidean distance. And for hierarchical, it's calculated for each data point. For k means, it is calculated for k random points. Okay. How do we validate the clusters formed? We basically kind of, in SAS there are a lot of checks. In our we have certain checks like basically we see that the deviation should be high, like, right? So the average of the value of any variable should be very high across for each of the clusters. So for example, if I'm saying that uh, this is a one cluster, like this is a one cluster, and this is the another cluster. So the average, what is the average of this? The average of this is around 50, right? And the average of this is 24. So this is like a deviation. And मतलब ये नहीं बोल सकता कि मैं, so let's say this is 5. So I cannot say that these are two different clusters. Why? Because 24 and 25 are very similar, right? So the difference between these two means should be considerably large. So that's another way of just checking that the clusters formed are really different from each other or not. Okay. What is the k nearest neighbor technique? It's not similar to clustering in itself. It's basically it's kind of a technique of linear regression, where basically you talk about the k nearest neighbors of a particular data point and try to then predict, right? So it's not again linked to the k means clustering in itself. It changes from the tool, Anand. It's not like uh, it is based on the. It will very vastly vary across a tool. But yeah, I think SAS is considered to be one of the most uh, perfect tools for clustering. The standardized method. So standardize is nothing but basically standardizing a variable, right? So what I'm doing is that I'm standardizing B2, okay, and I'm taking the average of the entire data series. So let's say I do not take for you, make it clear. So let's say I'm taking the average of this entire series, and I'm also taking the standard deviation of the entire series. Okay, so this is my standardized value. So for each one of them, I will see, you see that the deviation has reduced. So these are like the standard values. So standardize is itself in Excel, and there are three arguments to be passed. One is the variable, one is the average, and one is the standard deviation. That's it. So that's what it is.
Sir, I have one question.
Uh-huh.
How this the number of k affects the data or analysis? The higher number of k
Uh-huh.
affects the data or analysis.
The k affects basically the analysis. The data is like
K,
independent of the k, right? So
right.
if you
So
provide, let's
if we
say,
have the higher, if we have the higher number of k, though
mhm.
will it affect the analysis, or how it will affect the analysis?
So you are essentially saying, let's say if you're saying, let's say two examples, let's say you're saying k is equal to 2 versus k is equal to 15, okay? So in one version,
Yeah.
you're saying that there are two clusters in the data, and another version, you're saying that 15 clusters in the data, okay? So if there are only two clusters, you say that the entire world is divided into two clusters. When you're saying 15 clusters, you say that the entire world is divided into 15 clusters. Now, what is right? Now, the 15 number is right, or the second number is right, or something in between is right. So that is basically chosen by seeing the results, right? So in two, maybe let's say age, it can be vastly different. But then there could be subgroupings also, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
one mean can be, let's say, X, and the other mean can be Y when you're looking at the two cluster. But there could be subgroupings within that X and Y also. Then there we can move to the number of clusters, right? So maybe to 4 or 5. But that ideal is like we've seen, just seeing on the data like how the clusters are formed and what is somebody measured at.
Okay. And which k means is the most widely used technique,
Yeah,
or
k means is is more used than hierarchical, because in hierarchical, as you see that since the distance will be calculated for each data point, if you have a lot of data points, it will be very exhaustive for the tool to calculate for each one of the data point. So for that, K means is considered to be better.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so now quickly let's go to a case study in R. Okay, so I will basically give you a small glimpse of how it works in R. Okay, so basically the idea here is, so market segmentation for airlines. Okay, so let's say there is a data where you need to basically divide the customers or based on certain attributes on let's say which are the customers who have let's say more profitable or less profitable, something like that. So I'll just read out it quickly. So market strategy is strategy that divides the growth target market into customers into smaller or more similar groups, and then design a marketing strategy specifically for each group, right? Clustering is a common technique for market segmentation, since it automatically finds a similar group given a data set. And this problem, we'll see how clustering can be used to find similar groups of customers who belong to airlines frequent flyer program. So there's a frequent flyer program, and there are a lot of customers who are registered for that, and from that set of customers, of database of customers, will try to find out like what like who are the customers who have who belong to which category, right? So there are, so I'll quickly show you the data. So so the data is this. So let me open it. Yeah, so this is the data. I hope you can see it. So essentially, I have the data for around 4,000 people, 4,000 customers, and this is the various data points that I have. I've got the balance of that customer. So balance is, let's say, the airline balance, the miles that have the customer has flown, the bonus miles that he has got, the bonus transactions that he has got, the flight miles. So there is a description of each of one of them. So let me quickly also open that. Uh, Okay, so the balance is the number of miles eligible. So there is an award. So basically, this frequent flyer program is a award, or the award for travel. So the balance is like number of miles that the customer has acquired. So if you keep on flying, you try acquiring the balance. So if you guys have jet and all of that, if you travel with jet and something, so you get those balance points, right? Similar to credit card. So number of miles qualifying for top flight status, that's qual miles variable. The bonus miles is number of miles earned from non-flight bonus transactions in the past 12 months. Bonus transactions is the number of non-flight bonus transactions in the past 12 months. Flight miles is number of flight miles in the past 12 months, and there is number of flight. Yeah, that's the flight transactions. Days is enrolled is the number of days enrolled in the frequent flyer program. So these are like uh, the variables, the 7 variables which we have for the customers, and based on these variables, we want to basically segregate the customers into certain clusters. Okay, so that's the idea. So we have just one data set of customers. So can we make a more marketing strategy based on like a few customers who have, let's say, high balance or high quality miles or high bonus miles, or customers who have low balance or other. So basically we want to find that whether there are any group that exists that can be created from these 7 variables that we have from the of the data point, or of the customers. Okay, so that's basically what the business objective is. Okay, I hope it's clear, all of you. Yeah. Okay. So Yeah, so the outliers, yeah, you need to treat outliers. Outlier treatment is very, very important in cluster analysis and companies for pointing it out. In this, we basically, in this data, I will not treat it. I'm not going into the data processing part of it. But how do you treat it? Basically, you basically see what's the maximum, and you can see the distribution. As I said, you can see the quartile distribution of the data. And if you see that if there are certain values which are very, very deviating and jumping at the 95 or the 99%, then you can basically cap them. And similarly, if the values which are very less at the 0% or 5%, you basically can float them, right? So that's how you can treat the outliers. Okay. I will share, but you have to somehow register or give the email IDs. I'm not sure if I can pick all of them through the inbox. If you just give me the email ID, so I can drop me emails or something like that, I can just email you back. Okay. But all of you, did you understand what the idea is? So idea is basically I have got these variables, and I have got like the data of around 4,000 customers, and for these 4,000 customers, can I group all of them into certain clusters and see that whether there is a can I make certain insights based on these variables, which are like balance, the qual miles, the bonus transactions, the flight miles, and the flight transactions. Okay, so that's okay. Okay. I will. So let's not deviate. Let's not deviate. Okay. Okay. So how many of you guys are like familiar to R? All of you? Okay. Okay. So I am getting email IDs. I am getting yes, no. Okay. Perfect. Hang on. Okay. So I see maybe let's say okay. Where did I send that? Okay, so for those guys who have no familiarity with R, so R is basically a software or a tool to run analytical or statistical modeling. Okay, so it's just basically a tool to do any kind of a statistical or analytics, right? So in which we basically load the data, we can clean the data, we can run algorithms, we can run predictive modeling, and we can even generate plots, and we can even write the results out. Okay, so R is just basically a platform to do all kind of statistical analysis or data handling. Okay, so that's what basically R is. So this is like the R GUI. So R we basically use the R Studio, which is basically the user-friendly version of R. So this is basically where the script is written, and this is where the plots can be drawn, and we can write the output files. Okay. Uh, okay. So moving on. Uh, moving on. So the first point is that I will basically load the data in my R. Okay. So so this path basically says that in which path or in which directory your data is stored. And I'm saying that read.csv airline.cluster. So basically I'm reading the file. So airlines is the file. So if you see it's the same data, which is basically which we saw in Excel. Okay, it's the same data that we saw in Excel. So that is what I've read in R. Okay, for this file, I will just quickly see the two measures. One is the structure. So structure basically says that what is the structure of the variable. So the structure of the variable means that whether it's integer, it's numeric, or categorical variable. So you see that all the variables are integer, which is essential for clustering since the hidden distance needs to be calculated. Okay, we have got around 4,000 observations, and we have got 7 variables. Okay, we do not have any y variable to predict. we have all variables to basically make a clustering. Okay. I can also quickly see the summary of the data set. So if I see the summary of the data set again, basically this is the for balance. The minimum is 0. The first quartile is around 18,000. Median is 43,000. Mean is 73,000. Third quartile is 92,000. Maximum is okay. So there is an outlier definitely. For qual minds, minimum is 0. Median is 0. Min is 144. Maximum is again 1148. Bonus miles, we have minimum 0. Median is 7,000. Maximum is around 2 lakhs, 2.6 lakhs. Bonus transactions, again, median is 12. Maximum is 86. Flight miles, 30,000 is maximum. Mean is 460. Similarly, flight transactions, we have a mean around 1.3 and 53. So we see that there are certain outliers present because of the huge maximum value. But then again, I'm not doing the data treatment given the shortage of the time. But this just gives an understanding of like what is the summary statistics of the entire data. Okay, so that's what it can help is. One of the important thing is that I should not have any missing values in the data. So now the way of seeing that is using this code like is there any NAs or missing values? So all of the data I do not have any missing values. If there were missing values, I could have approached treating it with the mean, median, or regressing it, but I had to also dig dive if like there were higher missing values in the data. Okay. So the first step is basically reading the data. The second step is I saw like the summary measures, and the third step I just saw whether there are any missing values or not. Okay. So as I said, one of the important point in clustering is that I need to basically standardize the data. Standardize means dividing the subtracting the mean and dividing by the standard deviation. The way we do it in R is using the function called p-process. The what it does is that let's say the pre-process basically pre-process the data. Airline norms basically predicts the normalized variable, and if you see the summary of normalized, so it is all in very standard format. So unlike the ones which we saw, uh, summary here, as you see, I see the summary was huge. Here it's all in the standardized format, right? So it's like ranging in the deviation is not as huge as this, and all of these variables now can be compared because this, like say bonus transaction 86 and this balance would not have been compared earlier, but now it can be compared. It's not huge difference. Okay, that's what is the benefit of standardizing the variables. It compares all of them. It allows all of them to be judged in one platform. Yes, maximum से पता चल जाता है maximum और आपका 75% of not very specifically, but you will know that outliers are present. Like by seeing the mean and the median, if they are very different, you can understand that there are outliers present. Right. Median is less affected, mean is more affected by the extreme observations. Okay. Okay. So now the next part is basically running the hierarchical clustering method. So the first in hierarchical clustering, first we calculate the distance. We calculate through the method Euclidean, as I suggested. So this code just calculates Euclidean distance for all of the data points. So you see, it takes some point of time, but since there are only 400 observations, it does not take so much of time. And then through this hclust method, I can run the hierarchical cluster. And there is a method, a specific method called WATD. This is a method of calculate of running the hierarchical clustering in R. So this is something which you need to provide. Okay. Uh, okay. Now I come to once this gets run. Now I will show you one important part in in hierarchical clustering. So in hierarchical clustering, if you just plot this cluster airline, you will just get this cluster dendrogram which you're seeing on the right hand of my screen. Okay. So let me just zoom this out, zoom it out. And let me open till the time it happens. Okay. So this is the cluster datagram which basically came from running the hierarchical clustering. Okay. So now there was a question for all of you guys. Yes, Carrot. Carrot is the library. Uh, Now the question to all of you is that how do I identify the optimal number of clusters? Okay. So in hierarchical clustering, you can understand the optimal, or can you get an understanding of optimal number of clusters through this point, through this plot called cluster dendrogram. Okay. So the greater, so this height, so greater is the height. If you see, so on the lower part, you see a lot of dense, and in the upper part, there you see that the number of lines are very less. Okay. So basically, this height shows the difference between the two clusters. So if you draw a line, a vertical line from here, so for example, let's say I copy this. Can I copy this? Yeah, so where are my okay. So let's see. Anyways, let me just copy this. Okay. So if I copy this in my Excel, just to make you guys understand it better. Uh, so if I try to draw a line, okay. So let's say try to draw a line here and shapes. Let's say the shape. Okay. So what is the number of vertical points which basically cross this line? Any guesses? What is the number of points which basically cross this line? Number of vertical lines which cross this horizontal line? Two, all of you, right? So if I draw a line here, so my understanding is that there should be two clusters, okay, right? But do you guys feel that two clusters are the most? And if I draw a line very much at the extreme, there could be many clusters. Agree? Right? So as you go up, so this is basically the distance between the two clusters. So the distance between two clusters here is these, and if you see go down, distance between each of these clusters is reducing. Okay. So for example, here there could be many clusters. Here could be there could be some clusters. Here could be there some clusters, and you go on. Number of clusters will reduce, right? So that is how you can get an understanding of what could be the optimal number of clusters. I should not have a lot of clusters. I should not have only two clusters also. So what is the optimal point? So dendrogram just helps give an idea of like what should be the optimal number of clusters. So for example, let's say I take the optimal number of clusters. Let's say, so here, what is the optimal number of clusters now? Just check. What is the number of clusters now? By if I draw a line here, 2, 4, 3. Okay, so there is one line cutting here, one line cutting here, another line cutting here. So what is the number of clusters? 3. Right? So one is here, and another is here. Right? So 3 is again a small number of clusters. Let's see, I try to decide. I put a line here. Now, what would be my optimal number of clusters? 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Agree? Right. So that's how I can just decide that what would be my optimal number of clusters, because this is something which is in middle, and this shows that like इसके नीचे फिर बहुत ज़्यादा हो रहा है धीरे धीरे. But then 5 is like kind of optimal clusters, and then I can use this understanding, and I can provide this as a input of k. So k can be 5 when I do the k-means clustering. Okay. So you understood this dendrogram wala feature, all of you? Yeah. So now just to continue, so now I have got these clusters. Okay, so I know that let's say there are 5 clusters, but then how do I use it in terms of my decision making? So something needs to be given in output. Okay, so then I basically so the line number 40 and 41, what it does is that it assigns the entire data into the 5 cluster. The cut tree function basically divides the data into the 5 clusters, and the data points are mapped to the clusters. Okay, so you see that in the first cluster there's 776 observations, second cluster 519, third में 494, fourth में 868, fifth में 1342. So you see that there is no huge, ऐसा भी नहीं होना चाहिए कि एक cluster में बस बहुत कम है, एक cluster में बहुत ज़्यादा है. All of them have got like significant same number of observations, but we need to see that what is the summary measure of it, of the means, right? So we also need to understand that for each of these data points, I need to know that what is the summary measure, right? So that summary measure can be simply computed through this. I've written a function to calculate that. Okay, sorry. Okay, and this line of code is basically calculates uh, the uh, the mean value of the balance, the miles and the bonus miles for each one of the clusters. Okay, and then I basically create a final summary kind of a table, and I also write this in a kind of CSV file, which is basically this hierarchical cluster CSV. So if I see this hierarchy cluster CSV, which gets written out here, this file, which has got this 8:32 p.m. Date. So what is the output of this file? I'll just give you a very simple explanation of that. Let me just open it. Okay. So as I said that there are 5 clusters. So I see that there are 5 rows representing my 5 clusters. Okay. And what are these? These are basically the mean measures, or these are basically uh, the mean of the clusters. Okay, as per the hierarchy clustering. So in the first cluster, if you see balance का mean है इतना 58,000, qual mines का 1 है, bonus mines का इतना है, bonus transactions का इतना है, right transactions का बहुत कम है, let me see the decimal places, base installment इतना है, right? So you see that there is certain customers who have a huge balance also, and they have not traveled much, and they have huge qual mines also. So they are like these guys of high paying customers, right? But there are certain customers who have who have traveled so much, but then they have very less balance as compared to the others, right? So इतना maximum days इतना है, फिर भी इनका balance इतना कम है, qual mines इतना है, bonus mines इतना है. So these are like the customers who have kind of a low flat program. So obviously the marketing strategy for this cluster and this cluster should be different. Okay, so that is basically the idea of clustering. So based on this, I can frame a strategy for these customers who belong to cluster 2. I can frame a strategy who belong to cluster 3. I can frame a strategy for customers who belong to cluster 5, and so on and so forth. So that is basically the power of clustering. Similarly, quickly, if I just run for k-means. So in k-means, as I said, I provide the k equals to 5. So that 5 came from my hierarchy clustering number, and then I just run this code, which is this k-means code, and I run it on the normalized data. Center is equal to k, which is basically the number of clusters. Maximum iterations equal to 1,000 is the number of iterations that needs to be run for clustering. And if you see, it also provides this like the summary at the normalized data level. But if you see the table of your Lens K cluster, it also divides the data into kind of a similar kind of a frequency. It assigns, again, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are not the same as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's basically the 5 different clusters. Okay, so do not take it as the 1, 2, 3, 5 and in a literal sense. Okay, again, I calculate the mean of all of these clusters, and I again write it as the k-means cluster. And I finally also write this file called airlines, which has got the clusters mapped to it. So I do it by this code. For clustering, I do it through the airlines cluster key, which is nothing but the code which I ran here, right? And for hierarchical clustering, basically through this, okay, from the airlines cluster, which I ran for hierarchical clustering, which is this, okay. So once I have this, I have already outputted the file for the time from the time perspective. So with the data, I have also got the clusters, okay. So these were the initial data, and this is the data. This is the clustering as per the hierarchy. This is the clustering for as per k-means, okay. I will quickly show you. I've just taken a pivot of all of them and taken the average of the miles and all of that, which we are seeing through that airlines cluster hierarchical sleeve. So these are like the average from the hierarchical output, and this is the average from the k-means. Obviously, they will be not same. The reason being the distance is calculated in different manner for hierarchical and k-means. But the idea is same, is that there are certain category of customers who have a high average balance, but the days of enrollment is not as high. But there are certain categories of customers who have like huge average days of balance, but then their miles and their bonus transactions is quite less as compared to uh, this guy, okay, the cluster 2, okay. So it depends upon what kind of technique that we use, and based on that we can basically frame the insights on like which. So for example, if I need to frame insights based on my hierarchical results, so let's say this was my hierarchical result, and if I just zoom it out, so for example, I may frame a strategy that these customers needs to be targeted with like high pitch campaign, some because they have been spending more, and these customers, let's say, needs to be targeted with low pitch campaign because they have been spending less, and similarly, right? So this gives an idea of like how we can pitch the customers based on the attributes that we have already given. And if I have these values for a new customer, I can basically assign him on the cluster, like based on the average, based on the value which already has. So that's basically how I can use the data, how I can use this model for even unseen data. But we're not predicting anything here. What we're doing is basically uh, we are just basically uh, analyzing the data and to form clusters. How we know on which basis my trust each cluster is formed? This is formed basically on the basis of, as I said, the clusters is formed is basically by dividing the individual observations for hierarchical, and for k means is basically chooses a k. So here k is how many? Here k is 5, and this 5 how we got it basically through dendrogram, right? So how do we choose? How do we know on which basis my clusters are formed? These clusters are formed based on your individual, your independent variables. So the distance that gets calculated for each one of the independent variable, the Euclidean distance. Based on that, a mapping is formed of clusters, and all the data points which are closer to that centroid for k means they get mapped, and for hierarchical, like the distance keeps on getting calculated for each data point, and then finally the final hierarchy clustering happens. Okay. How do we get the number of clusters without using hierarchy clustering in R? That's in K means that's basically something random. So you need to provide the key, which can be basically hindsight, or by looking at the output, you can again reiterate. You can ideally the number of clusters is always between 3 to 10, not more than that. So you can reiterate based on which cluster you are getting the most output, which can be most validated, or which can be most you can have a confidence upon, right? It's something, it's more of a random nature. Yes, you can divide it into validation. Yes, dendrogram is always a better uh, tool to just to validate the insights. And based on these independent features, then specific specific recommendations, specific marketing campaigns can be formed, and you can be targeted specifically. So that's how this recommendation happens. Okay. Yeah. So that was essentially the clustering idea. So I hope I was able to briefly push you with a lot of thoughts on clustering, and just give you an understanding of what the code is and how we can just basically run on the data. I hope you got some understanding of it. Yes, no. Okay. Cool. I will share my email ID. So this is my email ID. You can drop me email. It will be hard for me to just uh, go to the chat box and just keep on copying your emails. Yeah, just drop me in your email, and I can be in the number of variables are more than do a factor analysis are also. If number of variables are more than we do a factor analysis are. If number of variables are more than we do factor analysis. Uh, Akash, I didn't really get your question. What exactly are you asking? Okay, so yeah, that does not makes a difference. Even though variables are less, ideally, your number of rows should be more than your number of columns. If that feature is being satisfied, everything is fine. Your n should be less than your n should be greater than your k. Where n represents the number of rows and k represents the number of features. Okay, Akash. Okay, sure. That's fine. No worries. Ideally, you should have all numerical data sets. That's the only condition in clustering. Okay. I will quickly drop through because I've got a call from 9. I just need to prepare myself. Uh, I have lost all audio. I hope the session has been informative. Yeah, that's not what I am speaking, but yes, I hope it's been informative. Uh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So thank you guys. Again, because of time, I need to just rush on. Uh, yeah. So I have another class. Sorry, I have another call to have from 9. So I'll just be logging off. Yeah. So hope you had a like learning session. Hope I was able to give some insights on what clustering and how it can be just implemented, and the end-to-end of how we can generate insights. Yeah, and I will drop you the email. Whoever has sent me the IDs. Yeah, and yeah, nice meeting you, and we can catch up again. Yeah. Thank you, all of you. Yeah.